Okay, and I'm going to start by showing you what I'm going to be drawing or sketching in paint. I'm doing this all freehand. And the reason that I have this drawn around is because we were having trouble getting the camera set up where you can see what I'm doing, so I needed to keep that. But what I'm going to draw for my forget-me-nots is just a little tiny center, and I'm going to be sketching this in wet paint with the wipeout tool. And then I'm going to do, you know, you don't want perfectly shaped petals. I'm just going to sketch these little petals in, and then the bottom ones I just kind of sketch like this, so I know where they're going to go. And then I want another bloom coming off, but we don't want it coming off of here necessarily. We want it coming off the edge of a petal. And I generally do them with 3 petals, so I make another little spot here for my center, and I sketch this here, and then I might come over and I don't know how this is going to work, me turning it. I'll try not to turn too much. Another one coming off here, and maybe even burying those petals down a little bit further. But we're eventually going to come out and we're going to make, and you can do this as a C shape or an S shape, where you're going to come out like this to make a C shape. If you were doing an S shape, you would go up in like this. And we can guide some of our other points, and you know, excuse me, I don't remember what they're called, but we can guide some of the other points by the little sprays of buds that we do. Okay, so now I have my little mess there cleaned off, and I'm going to start. I'm using, this is a small area, I'm actually using a number 6 brush, but you can even use a 4. And I'm doing a full load of paint, but I'm not making my paint real heavy. You can see this here. And I'm going to start up here and do some cross-hatching motions. And I'm using only one color for this method, or one shade I should say. This is Flag Blue. It originally was started by Grace Patton. She sold it to House of China. It's no longer available, but it's a really nice, what I call a clear blue or a red blue. So I sketched that in there, and there's just a few areas where I see some places that needed to be blended a little bit, but you don't have to put a whole lot of effort into blending this all out. So then I start at the top, and again with my cleaning tool with the point area of it, and if you have one of those little toothbrush type ones, they work well too. And I start up here and I draw my little center, and then the petals, and then I'll come off and I'll do another one, and I think I'm going to do this kind of right there and come out here. That's a side petal. Again, I'm trying not to turn this too much, and I don't have enough paint up there, so I didn't take the paint out of my brush. I'm going to come and take a little more paint out up here, and I'm going to do one right off of here. And you can make just little loops because we're gonna pull that paint out anyway. And then I probably would come in here with even another one. And you can do as many of these as you're comfortable with and then start pulling the paint out. Or you can sketch your whole thing. I do both ways. Right now I feel like I have to go ahead and pull some of these out. Now I've taken another brush. This one is a number 4. I might switch down to a 3 here in a minute. We'll see. And I have dipped it back into just my medium. I've blotted it very well, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pull this paint out. And you know, sometimes you just feel like you can't get enough paint out, and that's where I'm feeling right now. When I was setting this up, I was getting enough out. I just went back into my turpentine and I blotted it very well, and I'm going to pull this out better. And then once I start getting some buildup on my brush, it'll work better. But I don't know how close you can see this, but as I'm pulling it out, I'm starting out here at the edge. I'm pulling down the right side, then I'm pulling in from the left side. And yes, I'm left-handed, but I am painting the exact same way that you would be painting. I load my brush from this left side the same as a right-handed person does. Now I'm going to pull these little guys out, and you want to keep some paint there. This is making pretty much a nice, you could see it right there on that one. That made a nice shadow of that petal. But we're going to do this again, and you ask why we do things many times, and I'm going to show you the layering technique. But there I have one petal wiped out, or one flower wiped out. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Now, see, I'm not pulling much paint again. It is a shadow flower, but my technique, you still want that pulled out. So here I go again. I cleaned my brush a little bit. And I've never tried this with a brush cleaner. I was a Terp girl for a long time, and it's a hard habit to break. So I do mine with Terp. You still see a little bit of pencil lines, or excuse me, wipeout lines, but we want to go ahead and leave those there. That's not a problem. I'm going to do this one up here. See, it doesn't take as much. And they don't have to be perfect. That's the cool thing about this. Okay, got that one, and I'm going to come back in here, and this is the top center petal. I'm getting that wiped out. I'm going to go to this one next because it's kind of out on the outside of it. I pull that. I'm not pulling as much paint, and this guy is really underneath all of it. I need to have a definition of where it is, so I'm going to pull that much out. Now I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to wipe out those little centers. And I just realized I didn't put any yellow paint out to get the centers in. So I'm going to stop here just for a second and either get out or mix some yellow paint. Okay, of course I had to go hunting for yellow paint. I've been painting so many portraits lately that I really don't use a lot of these normal colors. But I do have a mixing yellow here on my smaller brush. And this isn't a real vivid mixing yellow, but I'm just going to take it, I'm going to put some of it in here in the centers. I have this brush is pretty heavily loaded because yellow does fire out a lot. And I'm going to come in here and paint these centers back in. And then I'm going to come back and put some more flowers in. I'll start to sketch again, and I'm going to come over maybe like in here and put in what would be a full flower. There's my center. I'm going to keep it right side up, although you could put it upside down. There's the top petals. Here's the side. And here's those little bottom petals. Then I might want to come down in here and do another partial one. He might only get, I don't know. Let's make this the top petal here. He's going to have quite a bit of a side petal here, and he's going to have just a little bit of the other side petal over there. Then we're going to want to come over here, and I'm going to do one that's right side up off of this, so I'm going to bring my center out just a little bit farther, and there's my top petal. Here's this side petal, and this side petal is going to be underneath there. So I will take my small brush again, and I'm going to try to do this so that you can see it and I don't get my setup out of whack. And even though this guy is probably going to end up underneath that flower, but it might not. I mean, this petal might end up underneath this top petal. We're still going to bring it in here like we were just painting it as the focal flower or the focal petal, and I'll pull my paint out of it, and then when we come back the next firing we should be able to determine what we're going to do with it. I hope I still have you in focus here. I'm going to get these guys pulled out. I don't paint upside down very well without turning my piece. That's something I learned early on, and because of some issues I've had with my hands, this turntable has been a lifesaver. I'll come into here and pull these petals out. So I hope you get the idea here. I'm making petals on each one of them, and I hope that you can see that it's giving me, I'm going to go ahead and wipe the center out here. I hope you see that it is giving me a little bit of shading in the petal. And I'll tell you what I'll do when I'm done. I'll do a snapshot to email to you, because I think that you can then go in and zoom in really, really far to see what's going on with the whole process. So I have my petals, and I got to tell you that I have painted baby shoes, and I'm going to show you a baby shoe here in a minute, a second fire on it, that I've done these little guys for so long I hate doing them anymore, and this is the process that I use on them. Okay, I've got that all. As far as I want to go, I don't necessarily want to put any more flowers on there at this point. I'm going to go ahead and get into my yellow, and I'm going to put the little centers in here, and that's as far as I'm going to go there. Now I'm coming back, and like I said, I had been using pure turpentine to wipe those out. That's a practice, so practice that for me before you go doing it on your own here. I'm going to go in, I've taken and I've oiled my brush, and I'm going to come out here, and I'm going to feather out some of these edges some. And if I think that I have too much paint in one place, which I do down here, I'm going to come in here with my cleaning tool, and I'm going to wipe out a bunch of this excess, and I'm going to do some over here too. I'm not trying to make any shapes, so don't get the wrong idea here, but I'm going to wipe some of this out, because if I kept trying to pull that out, I'd be pulling all the way down into this blank area. So I'm just going to I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to smooth out these edges. And another thing, sometimes that brush is just a little too small, and I'll go in here and use that number 6 brush, and all I'm doing is pulling from the edges. I'm not getting too far into that paint at all, but see how that's pulled all that out and how nice that looks. So I do this, and I go all the way around and do it. I'm going to stop here for a second so I can finish it.